Chapter 669 The Living Path is Cleared by Killing. The rain had lasted for a few days straight. The people in the clock tower were already silent, overwhelmed by the sorrow of finding the group in the space of death, and now, yet another devastating news had come. Half of the army is dead, only a few from the 3 hunter squads are alive. The Imperial magicians are trapped by the mountain zombie there, an Imperial magician came reporting. Sigh, so many are dead, but we still picked the bridge of death. Ling Shi shook her head when she heard the news. We should have just fought with all we had. Maybe we can still survive until the morning arrived. We still don't know if the Dark Abyss is going to shift into the inner city. Maybe the Black Vatican is just trying to trick us. Now that we've lost so many people, we won't have a chance to defend the inner city, said Chu Jia. Don't you think it's meaningless to say something like that now? We're only in this situation because we've underestimated the Black Vatican. You should say that if the Magic Association, Hunter Union, and all renowned clans had worked together to eliminate the Black Vatican, a disaster like this wouldn't even happen. I don't think the Black Vatican is fooling us. The Dark Abyss is going to drift into the city. We already know that the Imperial Tomb is under the Dark Abyss. It's the fortunate among all unfortunates. I can already feel death closing in, responded Du Xiao, who seemed to have a grudge against Chu Jia. Chu Jia did not feel pleasant upon hearing the words. As he was about to respond, Du Xiao was already not in the mood to quarrel with him further. He walked to the edge and summoned a pair of wings. The wings had an obvious tear on them. It was obvious that he had been injured before. What are you doing? Asked Chu Jia immediately. I'm well rested. I'll go and save more people. Du Xiao beat his wings and leapt into the air. He was extremely quick. The rain nearby was swept away as the wings beat. Not long after, Du Xiao had already vanished into the distance. The space of death. The silver vortex finally disappeared. No more undead were falling from the sky. However, the broad area was now crowded with lots of ugly creatures. Su Xiaoluo and Lu Ru both had extremely pale faces. They had witnessed the enormous undead army up close, and even cleared a spectacular path to reach the Dark Abyss. However, they were escorted by an army of powerful magicians, and now, there were only 4 of them in the space. 4. Just 4. Zhang Xiaohou was an intermediate magician. Mo Fan had just leveled up to the advanced level, but he still could not cast advanced spells as he had yet to learn how to construct a star constellation. The breakthrough had only granted him a greater supply of energy. There was no way they could handle so many undead. Brother Fan, Zhang Xiaohu's forehead was covered in sweat. The number of undead had exceeded his imagination. It was a lot more than the number of undead he had encountered at Xianxi. The 2,000 undead could easily combine into a great tide and devour the 4 of them. Swift Star Wolf, Little Flame Bell, come out here. Mo Fan immediately drew the star orbits and star pattern of the summoning element. Him summoning the 2 creatures instantly implied that he was in a grim situation. He had to try his very best. The Swift Star Wolf soon appeared beside Mo Fan. Its hair was drifting in the wind from the phantom gusts and undead breath. White fangs poked out from the wolf's lips, almost reaching its lower jaw. Protect them, Mo Fan told the Swift Star Wolf. Lu Ru was fine on her own. Her close combat strength was a lot higher than the Swift Star Wolf, but Su Xiaoluo desperately needed protection. She was a poison magician, and her cultivation was not too high, either. She had spent most of her time on herbs and refining potions. When Zhang Xiaohou saw that Mo Fan was not talking nonsense anymore, he knew his friend was being utterly serious. The number of undead was too overwhelming. If anything, the only fortune they had was the fact that Mo Fan had just progressed into an advanced fire magician. Little Flame Bell, stay close to Zhang Xiaohou, said Mo Fan to the little flame bell floating beside him. Brother Fan, do as I say, said Mo Fan in a deep voice. Zhang Xiaohou opened his mouth, but he did not say a word. They are here. Lu Ru lowered her voice too. The space was not huge. The undead soon caught the smell of living humans. They let out ghastly starving cries, and their stiff movements suddenly turned into sprinting, like refugees running toward food. The zombies were the greediest, running at the front of the pack. The sturdy ground began to crack under their heavy steps. Mo Fan took a deep breath. His right fist was already burning with a blazing red flame. The fang-shaped flame swayed slightly in the wind. He stood there waiting for the zombies to enter the range of his fiery fist. "This is the space of death. Are we going to die here?" Su Shaoluo almost bit her lips. She blurted out cowardly, "Space of death." They were in the space of death. There were so many undead, and only the 4 of them. They were going to die. The people in the city were going to die, too. They still could not escape their fate. Everyone would die before dawn. Their blood splashed across the ground would be that maniac Salin's red carpet. The living path isn't cleared by walking on it, but killing. Mo Fan did not turn his head, directing the words at Su Shaoluo, who had the urge to give up. Fiery fist. The light of the fire flickered. Mo Fan launched the flame on his fist with a blast. 9 fiery dragons flew across the gray land and rammed into the pack of zombies running at the front while wriggling their fiery bodies. Around 60 zombies were running at the front of the pack, the fastest among the zombies. The zombies agilely leapt aside when the fiery dragons lunged at them, dodging Mo Fan's fiery fist. However, the fiery dragons were not just dumbly flying forward. The flames emitted from their bodies were extremely hot. The little sparks alone were enough to set the zombies aflame once they made contact with their bodies. The strength of the fiery fist, 9 dragons, was overwhelming, not to mention its wide coverage. The 60 agile zombies were completely devoured by the flames with no chance of escaping, burned into black ash, and blown into the air. Mo Fan stepped forward and drew the next star pattern. The army of magicians had cleared a path to the dark abyss in the ocean of undead. This time, it was his turn to clear a living path in this space of death. Chapter 670 Advanced Level Transformation. The black ash blown into the air slowly dissipated. Mo Fan subconsciously took a deep breath. The number of undead that was eliminated by a single cast of Fiery Fist was nowhere enough compared to the total number of undead, but that did not mean Mo Fan would stand there waiting for his death. Perfect timing. Time to kill at will. It took him great effort just to reach the advanced level. Mo Fan charged at the undead at full speed. The number of undead was too deadly for the people behind him. Mo Fan did not want them to get any closer to his crew. As such, he had no choice but to step forward to stop the tide of undead. Zhang Xiaohou was shocked when he saw Mo Fan charging into the undead. Mo Fan's speed was extremely quick even without the aid of any spell. He was as fast as someone under the effect of the basic spell Wind Track. Upon leveling up to the advanced level, not only did it strengthen his mind, his physical attributes improved dramatically too. It was also the reason why advanced magicians did not only fight commander-level creatures distantly. They were not at a disadvantage when fighting close combat too. Mo Fan had clearly sensed the difference. The physical buffs provided by his nebula was almost negligible. He had to rely on spells most of the time. Without magic, he was only an ordinary human that was slightly more agile. However, the advanced level was a different story. The physical attributes of an advanced magician were entirely different than the intermediate level. Their jumping, sprinting, dodging, and reaction times were comparable to lower-level demon creatures. Even when jumping right into a pack of demon creatures, it did not necessarily mean that the magician would have trouble surviving. Mo Fan had already felt it in the hall. The fire nebula had further strengthened his flesh. Therefore, he had decided to kill the undead as sacrifices for his recent level up. Flipping his hands simultaneously, 2 bright flames burst alive on his palms. Mo Fan basically finished the 2 fire bursts in an instant. In terms of speed and reflexes, Mo Fan was faster than the servant class undead. He quickly weaved past 2 poisonous zombies like a sparrow gliding through the woods and slammed the fire bursts on his hands on their bodies. Leaving the flames behind, Mo Fan had already moved a few meters away. With a thought, the 2 fire bursts on the zombies exploded instantly. It was too easy to kill 2 servant class zombies instantly with the 4th tier fire burst. As a matter of fact, if two undead were standing closely together, a single fire burst would be enough to send them both to hell. Oh, wait, they were already there. The two fire bursts exploded behind Mo Fan, staggering the skeletons that were following him. Mo Fan did not bother wasting his time on the skeletons. His gaze was fixed on a strong presence that he had sensed. It was a skeleton general. It was only as tall as a 10-year-old kid, thus it was easy to disregard its presence. Mo Fan would have had a hard time noticing the skeleton before, but he was now an advanced magician. His strong will was able to detect the presence of stronger creatures among the undead almost instantly. Giant Shadow Spike! Mo Fan straightaway charged toward the skeleton general with black energy circling around his finger. As Mo Fan shot the black energy forward, it turned into a flickering cold spike, punching into the skeleton general, which thought it had concealed its presence well. The skeleton general was only a small warrior-level creature. Its strength was nowhere close to the hatchet corpse general. The giant shadow spike completely sealed off its movements as it nailed the creature to the spot. It could not even move its fingers, let alone try to break free from it. As soon as Mo Fan had the skeleton general under control, 8 skeletons with white bone sabers appeared on both sides. Their hands had turned into the bone sabers to cut anything blocking in their path. The sabers were aimed at different parts of Mo Fan's body. 2 were swung at Mo Fan's head, while 3 were slashing at his chest. The rest were aiming at his limbs. Mo Fan was planning to eliminate the little skeleton general in one go. His eyes flickered coldly when he discovered the guards trying to protect their general. His pupils glowed purple, the energy of lightning. His arms were wrapped in arcs of lightning as electrical discharges surrounded him while producing crackling noises. Lightning strike! The lightning arcs spread out and quickly filled the area within 20 meters of Mo Fan like eels, turning the place into an electric field. The 8 skeletons had already raised their bone sabers, yet their speed was no match for the lightning. The paralyzing effect immediately nullified their attacks. The lightning element was indeed overwhelming. Most of the time, Mo Fan subconsciously used the lightning strike as a control spell to secure a safe space around him. After all, nothing could compare to its paralyzing effect. On top of that, its damage was fairly outstanding, too. 4 of the 8 skeletons were killed instantly. Among the basic spells, only the lightning element possessed such strength. The wind started blowing. It grew from a breeze to a green slashing tornado right behind Mo Fan. The wind dragged the skeletons and the undead following behind Mo Fan into the air and tore them into pieces. Blood and pieces of bones were scattered across the place. Mo Fan knew it was Zhang Xiaohu's attack without needing to turn his head around. The enemies behind him were eliminated, allowing him to focus on killing the impaired skeleton general. The warrior-level creatures posed the biggest threat to the group, after all. They would hide among the other undead and ambush them. Those without outstanding defensive equipment would be killed by a single blow. Die! Mo Fan walked up to the skeleton general and threw a fist at its shiny, smooth skull. The fist burst into flames as he launched it. When it landed on the skeleton general's face, flames like lava burst forward. The impaired skeleton general was knocked 50 meters away. His path had other skeletons along it, too. They were also devoured by the flames of the fiery fist. It was obvious that the tiny skeleton general was not very strong at all. The explosion produced by the fiery fist, exploding heaven right in its face, was enough to kill it. However, at the place where the skeleton general's bones landed in pieces, a 2-faced phantom 10 meters tall uttered an enraged roar. 10 meters, it was the height of a 3-story building. Its presence and aura were a lot stronger than the skeleton general. Even their faces were hurting from the wind that was produced by the roar. Chapter 671 Endless Battle, Part 1. The phantom did not lunge at Mo Fan straight away, but commanded the lower-ranked undead nearby to attack him. The undead immediately charged toward the group, either leaping, tearing, sprinting, or breathing out poison. Mo Fan did not panic when he saw the undead approaching him. Rose Flame, Fiery Fist, 9 halls. The ground began to tremble as Mo Fan slammed his fist into it. Before the 9 astonishing fire pillars even burst out from the ground, something blazing red was already boiling in the cracks. The pillars rocketed out of the ground one by one, each as thick as the trunk of a huge tree. The pillars were full of blazing lava, igniting sparks across the place as they splattered in the air. Flames burned the area between the fire pillars. The undead who were caught in the fire had only been buried underground for a few years, and their bodies were not refined enough to endure the incredible heat. Not a single undead that was caught in the range of the fiery fist. 9 halls survived. The skeletons turned into ashes, while the zombies turned into burned charcoal. The phantoms simply vanished into smoke and dispersed. For someone like Mo Fan, who was equipped with all kinds of destructive spells, he was afraid of neither close combat nor being surrounded, especially when he could easily eliminate a huge group of servant-class creatures instantly. The fiery fist annihilated the group of 30 undead that the Two-Face Phantom General sent out. They all turned into soul remnants floating into the little loach pendant. It seemed like one among them was a soul essence. Mo Fan did not take a close look at it, as another group of zombies breathing out poisonous gas were approaching him on the scorched land. Mo Fan hated poison the most. Although the poison unleashed by these zombies was not too effective against an advanced magician, it would still inflict serious damage to his body after a prolonged period. Poison was extremely deadly in his situation since he still had to fight an overwhelming number of undead. Poisonous zombies, poisonous liquid, poisonous claws. Mo Fan avoided contact with anything poisonous. When he was sprayed with the poisonous liquid, he immediately weaved through the zombies in the form of a shadow and arrived at a relatively spacious area. "Leave the poison to me." Su Shaluo's voice came from not far away. Mo Fan raised his head and soon discovered the green poison mist was being pulled away by something. It was floating toward where Su Shaluo was standing. Su Shaluo opened her palm. A wind vortex appeared on her palm, absorbing all the poison of the zombies nearby, including the poisonous liquid that was being sprayed in the air. Mo Fan had rarely seen a poison magician. His grim face barely showed any emotion when he saw Su Shaoluo getting rid of the troublesome poison with ease. Without the threat of the poison, Mo Fan was able to focus on killing the undead. Claws slashed fiercely in Mo Fan's direction. He could now dodge the attacks with his improved agility. Even when 5 poisonous zombies were trying to tear him to pieces, he still dodged the attacks with ease without relying on the fleeing shadow or the blood tabi. Leaping backwards, Mo Fan created some distance from the 5 poisonous zombies. The clumsy creatures lunged at him, but they ended up knocking into one another. Mo Fan took hold of the chance and shoved his arm forward. Several lightning strikes struck forward and danced between the 5 poisonous zombies like eels. He flipped his right hand. The flame he ignited shone upon his icy face. He tossed the fire burst right in the middle of the 5 poisonous zombies. When the brilliant fireworks of the explosion went off, the 5 immobilized poisonous zombies were blasted to pieces. Mo Fan glanced at the remains of the zombies scattered across the ground. He had eliminated the 5 poisonous zombies with ease. He could clearly feel the difference in his power after achieving the advanced level. Instead of the need to focus when casting basic spells, he could now cast them by waving his hands. Together with his improved movement and quick reactions, the servant class no longer posed any threat to him. If it weren't for their overwhelming numbers, the fight would simply be a one-sided massacre. The Two-Face Phantom General was furious. It finally ran out of patience and charged forward when it saw its guards were completely beaten up by a human. When the 10-meter-tall creature sprinted forward, the human-sized undead immediately stepped aside, or the creature would simply crush them. The Two-Face Phantom General abused the advantage of its size and rammed forward, stomping a few careless skeletons into pieces. Mo Fan did not assume that he could withstand the impact after he became an advanced magician. He immediately kicked the ground and leapt a few dozen meters away when he saw the phantom targeting him. The Two-Face Phantom General had thick arms, and clenched its hands into claws. When it saw Mo Fan jumping away, it skidded to try and turn, and slashed at Mo Fan with its claws. The Two-Face Phantom General could easily grab a human. its claws could poke right through a person's body. Due to the momentum from its charge, the creature slid across the ground while swinging its claws, leaving Mo Fan with no chance of escaping. Mo Fan felt a sudden icy gust from his right, which turned out to be the Phantom General's claws. He quickly leapt backward, barely dodging the attack. The Phantom General pulled back its claws, but they ended up cutting only air. When it came to a stop and turned back around, Mo Fan was already around 40 meters away. The distance was enough to guarantee Mo Fan's safety. He slammed his hand on the ground, lightning strike went off, and hundreds of lightning arcs flickered wildly and turned the place into an electric field. Now that the zombies could no longer get close to him, he had eliminated the threat of being flanked from the rear. His pupils flickered as a mysterious purple star pattern and stars connected deep inside them. His casting speed was extremely fast. The ability to draw star orbits with a single thought and the upgrade to his will had further improved his mind, allowing him to finish a star pattern in no time. A restless stormy cloud appeared in the direction he pointed his finger. A piercing screech rose as the Phantom General realized the destructive force accumulating above it. The lightning descended from the cloud, tearing through the sky in the form of a purple-black bolt. The truth was, when they saw the blinding lightning flash, the energy of the bolt had already landed on the ground, shaking the entire space. Chapter 672 Advanced Level Transformation. Thunder boomed and rolled. The explosive penetrative power of the lightning left a hole on the two-faced Phantom General's face. The Phantom General had two faces and one mouth. One of the faces was similar to a human's, while the other one was festered and full of scars. However, when the former was struck by lightning, both of the faces were now festered, fresh blood falling from them. It was likely that the face would be full of scars, just like the other face, once the bleeding stopped. Obviously, the Phantom General did not like its faces matching that way. Its festered and slightly blown-up head rotated, revealing an eyeball almost falling out from its socket, giving it an eerie appearance. The Phantom General screamed and stomped forward. Mo Fan dodged aside, but the enormous Phantom General stomped its foot again before he could stand firmly. The stomp was so powerful that it left a huge pit in the sturdy ground. Mo Fan did not dodge aside this time. His body sank with the Phantom General's foot and turned into a puff of shadow. It split into two and fled from the creature's stomp. In the Phantom General's eyes, the two shadows that Mo Fan turned into were like two cockroaches escaping from its stomp. However, it was confused about why there were two of them when there was only one that it stomped on. When the Phantom General was still figuring out which shadow was its real target, Mo Fan already moved 50 meters away. He pointed his finger at the sky once again, summoning the rest of the lightning that he had not yet unleashed to strike the two-faced Phantom General's head. The two-faced Phantom General's head was almost blasted in half by the lightning. Brain liquid leaked out from the hole in its head, while one half of its skull dangled in the air, similar to the dangling eyeball from before. After all, the creature was an undead. Other demon creatures would be close to death if their heads were blasted open like that. The two-faced Phantom General was trembling from the hit. The lightning was quite powerful. Even though the creature's body was able to withstand the damage, its bones were shaking hard from the shock. As the creature was enormous, it relied heavily on the support of its skeleton, thus further increasing the effect of Qinjin's space trembling effect. Another gorgeous lightning strike descended. The Phantom General almost lost its balance. It suddenly dropped to the ground on its knees. More lightning strikes descended wildly in succession. Mo Fan wanted the Phantom General dead as soon as possible. More than 1,000 undead would be here soon. He had to eliminate those that posed a great threat to him in the quickest possible time. The two-faced Phantom General was blasted by the lightning beyond recognition. Its whole body was festering, scorched, with blood splattering everywhere. However, the creature had no sense of pain or acknowledgement that it was suffering from serious injuries. As soon as its bones were no longer under the space-trembling effect, it lunged at Mo Fan and attacked with its claws. So that's where your undead crystal is. Mo Fan stood his ground with no intention to dodge the incoming attack. The lightning had blasted a hole in the two-faced phantom general's belly. The scorched hole gaped open, and inside it was a glittering crystal. It was the undead's weakness. Not many warrior-level creatures managed to survive consecutive blasts of Mofan's thunderbolt, wild strikes. It seemed like it would take more than a few lightning strikes to kill the two-faced phantom general. Luckily, the enraged creature was totally unaware that its weakness was exposed. Fiery fist. Exploding heaven. Mofan's fist erupted in flames as he attacked the 10 meters tall creature. The blazing red flames burst forward and formed a fiery ring, with Mofan in the middle. The raging flames combined into a fiery fist, aimed at the hole on the two-faced phantom general's belly. The two-faced phantom general's torso was huge enough to contain the entire fiery fist. Not only did the fiery fist smash the undead crystal into pieces, it even penetrated the back of its chest. Once the undead crystal was broken, the creature was just a lump of rotten flesh and bones. The blazing red flames of the fiery fist simply set the remains on fire. Within just a second, the 10 meters tall creature was burned into a huge pile of ash and blown away by the wind, barely sweeping Mofan's clothes and hair. "This Mofan, how strong is he?" exclaimed the mysterious man in surprise. Watching from the wicked eye copper mirror, the people saw around 200 corpses scattered around Mofan. Among them were 2 warrior-level undead. He had eliminated all these troublesome creatures on his own, well beyond the capabilities of an ordinary intermediate magician. "He still hasn't shown all his strength," said Zuo Feng. Zuo Feng had witnessed Mofan's shocking punch, which had blasted a commander-level flesh-mound corpse official flying. If he was using the improved version of the 4th-tier fiery fist, it would eliminate a huge pack of undead instantly. As such, even though around 2,000 undead had been sucked into the silver vortex, Zuo Feng still believed in the group of young magicians. "By the way, did you notice something?" said Ling Shi. "Notice what?" I think he has 4 elements," said Ling Shi. "Now that you've mentioned it. Fiery fist, lightning strike, fleeing shadow, and the 2 summoned beasts at the start." "My God, he really has 4 elements," yelled Zuo Feng in astonishment. 4 elements. Lightning, fire, summoning, and shadow. Everyone was aware of Mofan's double innate elements, yet they all assumed that Mofan would only have 3 elements in the intermediate level, yet it turned out that he had 4 in total. Doesn't that mean he can awaken 2 elements every time he breaks through? He just reached to the advanced level. That means. Lu Shu was stunned too. Previously, they were immersed in great despair after learning the group ended up in the space of death. They assumed the 4 magicians had no chance of surviving against 2,000 undead. Even when Mofan was fighting, they did not pay any attention, and did not realize this fact until Ling Shi suddenly mentioned it. 4 elements. He really has 4 elements. No wonder he's able to start a bloodbath among the undead. The number of elements he has is the same as a super magician. I agree that we could just give up if it was someone else, but when it's Mofan, these undead might not be able to stop him, declared Yao Nan. It was also Han Ji's time witnessing Mofan's full strength. His eyes flickered with a hint of admiration. No wonder Zhu Meng was so fond of this young intermediate magician. He had 4 elements, just like the super magicians standing around him.